welcome back. It's Melanie, your She Shed Scrapper. So today I am back with week 6 of She's Crafty's mini paper pad class using this sketch here. So when I first started, I thought I was going to use circles, and then I remembered I kind of spent the weekend crafting inside and not in the she shed. And I had backed a couple of leaves that you kind of saw that first little bit. Unfortunately, in Michigan right now, it is quite cold, and the she shed, the heaters that I have out there just could not keep up over the weekend, so I ended up doing a little bit inside. And that was one thing that I found that I could do was kind of back some cut files. So I did that. So instead of the circles in the sketch, I am going to be using the leaves. I am using the Jen Hadfield Warm and Cozy collection, which I have a ton of. The wood grain background there is not warm and cozy. It is just a random couple pieces that I had laying around. So I thought I would like that for kind of this woodsy kind of these pictures here. And I thought warm and cozy was perfect because they have all these leaf papers and whatnot. So for the two layering pieces, I didn't want too busy of a paper for those, and so I kind of have this, it's kind of like a dark gray, and then I have the newspaper kind of look. So I picked those for the bottom layering pieces. The sketch just has one large paper, but unfortunately, we're using the mini paper pads, and so the 6x6 just was not large enough, so I had to use two. You see those scrap pieces of paper there? I had cut leaves out of them with my Cricut for a different project, but I like to keep it because just because, there's holes or leaves cut out of it doesn't mean I can't use it for a great backing piece of paper. As long as my picture is big enough to cover up the holes, I will use every kind of scrap of paper that I possibly can. And so, unfortunately, I had tried to use the orange, but the pictures just weren't large enough for to cover up those leaves, the holes there. So I had backed a couple of the leaves with that green plaid. So I decided to cut what I could out of there, or off the remaining 6x6 pad. And so I used that, found that really nice kind of yellow, wow, plaid paper, and then those leaves. And then I decided I did not like how you could see the two background pieces. The way I had the strips across the page, you could see the two background pieces, and I did not like that. So I decided to brighten it up, use a whiter piece of paper for just a thinner strip. I did end up cutting those strips of paper in different sizes, not by much. I think it's like 1.5, and maybe 2 inches. And then I did trim the paper or the pictures because in the sketch they did have them a little bit different sizes. So here is where I start playing with the leaves that I had already backed. I believe it's a Paige Evans cut file for these leaves. And when I first started, I had this perfect vision in my head, and I think I did the same thing with a different leaf layout that I did. I have these larger leaves, and then I have the chipboard, and I have the stickers for the Warm and Cozy collection. So I was like, oh, perfect. I have different size leaves, to layer kind of like the circles were. But then the larger leaves were kind of just overpowering. And I have the perfect vision in my head, and for whatever reason, I can't put it down on paper and layer them the way that I kind of envision in my head. I probably should have stuck with the circle idea, and those probably would have been easier to layer for me in my brain, however it works, but I didn't. I chose to go a different route and use the leaves. So I kind of just tried to play around a little bit with different sticker options. That bottom right corner, I was able to sneak in an acorn and an arrow. In the top, I snuck in a chipboard leaf and a pine cone. Um, I had gotten these die cuts, I think from Hip Kit Club, but for Christmas a couple of years ago at this point. They're all autumn themed, and I found that love, which I thought would be perfect. Um, but then it was so bright, so white. It was kind of like, okay, well, how do I make it kind of into a cluster? And then I remembered I had these autumn and fall, the sticker book here. And so I decided to change it because I liked the way the love looked, but it said nothing about autumn or fall. And obviously these pictures are from fall, even though the leaves aren't quite changed yet, but I know that they are. So I chose a title that says Autumn is Calling instead. Added some enamel dots to the top there, and a random leaf, but I think it works. It's not too overpowering, but it just kind of, I don't know, I like the way that it kind of sticks out. I was going to put two up there and decided to kind of not mirror it, but oh, what's the word I want? Almost, we'll say like have the weight of the paper almost equal, or like the symmetry of the paper. So I did add one leaf to the top, one leaf to the bottom. So as you know, for the mini paper pad class, I have been turning the sketches into a 2-page layout, and they haven't been too hard to kind of maneuver, but to maneuver the sketch, but kind of make them alike. This one here, I struggled a little bit. I didn't want it to be identical. The last couple, I have mirrored the sketch almost completely, just to make it a little bit different, but still enough the same to make it a 2-page layout. This one here, I could have done it identical, but like I said, I didn't want to. So what I decided to do is cut some of the 6x6 papers kind of in different sizes. I did go a little bit busier on this page, but I did decide to do kind of these 2 leaf papers, and then I just, place them down. The pictures are going to be kind of in the similar position as the first page, so I wanted to place those down, but then it gave me quite a large space to fill in with the paper strips, which does end up working. Again, I cut the strips into different widths, and I kind of, how I did it was, I knew where I wanted to start with the bottom one, and then I knew I wanted to cover up that wood grain on the left-hand side, and so I placed one there, and then I had that thin strip that worked perfectly to kind of fill that gap in, and then I obviously just needed a thicker width of a strip to finish filling in the wood grain on that right hand side. So I am pleased with how that worked. I was going to try and use the same red paper here, but I didn't want to trim my pictures too much. There's a lot in these pictures that I liked. Really the only one I could have trimmed was the one of my dad and my youngest on the fence, but I loved having that much fence in the picture. I mean, there's your wood grain, there's the wood kind of texture, wood in the picture, and I just didn't want to trim that out. So I decided to go back to the orange paper. I couldn't remember why I couldn't get 2 of them on this paper to begin with, but I do end up making it work with the size of these 2 pictures. So again, I was able to use a couple of scrap pieces that I had previously used to cut out some leaves. So I was able to, use those up, as well as quite a few pieces of paper. I had previously dug into the 6x6 paper pad for this warm and cozy collection, so I had some scraps left over. So I used some of those for the backing of the leaves, and then I, used them for the background, for the strips of the background. So I used a lot of the 6x6 pad in this layout. So I was pleased with that. There was one paper that was not from the collection. That leaf that I had just touched there, the orange one, that paper was actually a scrap from, I believe, the Fall Farmhouse by Simple Stories, but it was a scrap piece of paper, and I was like, you know what? I wanted an orange leaf, and there just was not any orange paper in that warm and cozy collection. So I figured, you know what? I'm going to use the scrap as much as I can, and figured it's kind of a mini paper bag class, but try to use up your scraps as well. So it all worked. I added a leaf sticker and another acorn there. I added a leaf to the top, or 2 leaves to the top. And then I am going to use that love die cut that I tried to use in the first page. I am going to use that here on the second page at the top, and glue that down. And then I popped an acorn up and kind of made that into a cluster. And then just to finish off the layout, I am going to kind of add 3 enamel dots down the L there, and add kind of an enamel dot in each of the clusters just to kind of even it out. These were some Echo Park enamel dots, obviously from a fall collection, but they definitely matched the colors perfectly for this layout. So I just added, kind of sprinkled some enamel dots everywhere to finish off the layout, and I am really happy with the way this turned out. I think the layering of the big leaves ended up looking okay. I am happy with the outcome, even though it wasn't 100% what I was looking for, but I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.